There's a new gun that's being developed. I'm over at theheraldsun.com. Putin has openly talked about this gun and said that it will be used on dissenters and people opposed to him, probably protesters. Now I want to tell you about the gun. The gun targets a person's central nervous system and turns that person into a zombie. The guns will use electromagnetic radiation. The rays from the guns will attack the victim's central nervous systems. So if Russia has been testing these psychotronic guns, which turn people into zombies, you know that the USA also has these type of guns. So this is more deadly technology that is very terrifying. It uses electromagnetic radiation, which is like the type of radiation found in microwave ovens. And plans to use these super weapons have already been announced by the Russian defense minister. The Russian defense minister said that when it was used for dispersing a crowd and it was focused on a man, his body temperature went up immediately as if he was thrown into a hot frying pan. And then he says, still we know very little about this weapon, and even special forces guys can hardly cope with it. Precise details have not been revealed, but previous research has shown that low-frequency waves or beams can affect brain cells, alter psychological states, and make it possible to transmit suggestions and commands directly into someone's thoughts. Mr. Putin said the technology is comparable in effect to nuclear weapons, but more acceptable in terms of political and military ideology. Mr. Sergikov said the weaponry based on new physics principles, direct energy weapons, geophysical weapons, wave energy weapons, genetic weapons, and psychotronic weapons were part of the state arms procurement program for 2011 through 2020. So this type of unethical use of weapons on protesters, dissenters, people in the general populations is horrifying. And it raises many questions. What would happen? What would the aftermath be of a person being targeted with this type of a zombie-producing weapon? The person's mind would be altered, evidently. What would become of that person? Would the body system ultimately shut down? Would the person die? This is very cruel and unusual punishment and torture by governments. Instead of killing the person outright, they wish to produce a zombie state and put a person into this zombie state. When you think about it, it blows your mind to think what a horrifying experience that would be, to be targeted by this type of ray gun and put into a permanent zombie state to where you probably wouldn't know where you are, who you are, what you're doing. And that would be it for you. I'd like to know your thoughts about this. This article really caught my attention and I wanted to share it with everyone. It seems that these governments are turning to more extreme, effective types of torture to use against anyone who disagrees with the head of state or the dictator and that person's policies. And I imagine there's a very big psychological incentive in using this type of weapon. People wouldn't want to be targeted and hit with this type of a weapon and go into a zombie state. So you can see how effective this type of torture and threat would be over the general populations.